Before we get started, I need your help, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to repeat after me. This is a conversation. Not a presentation. Amazing, you're doing such a great job. Now what I want you to do is raise your hand if you've ever been talking to someone and it feels like you were talking to a brick wall. Okay, I see some head nods, I see hands up. Friend, you look like you're saying, Terry, that happened today, okay? I am so sorry, friend, but here's the thing. Don't do that to your new friend, Terry, okay? We're friends now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you my energy, I'm going to engage with you, and my ask is that you give me yours in return. If you are down for that and you can do that, can I hear you say, yeah? Yeah. Okay, I like you already, I love it. This is a great place for us to start our conversation. One of my earliest childhood memories is when I was living in La Mesa on Jesse Avenue with my mom. I was around 3 or 4 at the time, and my mom was holding me by my ankle as she was beating me. Another memory I have is when I was in the 5th grade. I was attending Henry Clay Elementary School, and we were at a parent-teacher conference, and my mom was there, my teacher told my mom about a love note that I wrote to a little boy. And she also told her about my messy desk. And in that moment, in the parent-teacher conference, my mom scolded me, and then she punched me in my face. Another memory I have is visiting my mom in various prisons around the country, writing her letters, JPaying her, and we would typically visit her on Sundays. My dad would take us because he was the stable adult holding things down. As you can imagine, one parent raising multiple children, my dad struggled, and we were homeless sometimes, living in motels, hotels, shelters, and with family and friends. Now, millions of children have had a parent incarcerated, and not only was I one of them, but as you can imagine, I had so many statistics stacked against me, right? I should have been a high school dropout. I should have been a teen mom. I should have been living below the poverty line, and I definitely should not be on the stage today. But according to purpose, I was meant for something more, just like you. Now here's the thing, we all experience pain, right? But the question is, what will we make of it? What will we do with that pain? So I have a question for you. Raise your hand if you remember what it was like to be 17, or if you're 17 now, or around 17. Okay, 17 is such a good age, right? You have dreams and goals. You're grown, but not grown, right? And the other thing about being 17 is you're really cute, but you may not realize it until about 10 years later, right? Ask me how I know. Now, here's the thing. 17 was an amazing age for me because my mom was no longer abusive. I was getting ready for senior prom, high school graduation. I got accepted into college. And in addition to that, I was chosen to go on a missions trip with my church to Trinidad and Tobago. I was so excited. And one of the things I kept saying to myself is, I'm 17, I'm going to college, and my life is lit. Let me hear you say, is lit. Yes, and I was so excited. So the thing about it is, right, it's July 20th, 2007, and my mom, my 4 younger siblings, and my dad, we pack up our rental car, and we make our way from Chester, Pennsylvania to Harrisonburg, Virginia. It's a 5-hour drive. Now, I don't know if you know this, okay? I'm gonna give you some little pro tip and some information right now, but siblings and road trips, they don't mix, okay? So my siblings are ages 3, 4, 5, and 9. Yes, my parents were busy. And we're taking this road trip, okay? So we get there 5 hours later, and as soon as we get to the hotel room, I start making plans. So I text my friend Juju, and I'm like, girl, ask your mom if I can spend the night in your hotel with your family because I don't want to be with these bad kids, right? So she talks to her mom, my mom approves, and I get to spend the night at Juju's hotel. We have an epic girls' night, okay? We're eating all the food, we're probably prank calling people. We had a great time. And the thing is, we stayed up way too late, but it was the morning of July 21st. This is the day that everything changes for me. It's the day that I get to go on this mission trip because I'm 17, I'm going to college, and my life is lit. Exactly. I'm so excited after everything I've been through. So we wake up in the morning, And one of the things that we do in my family, whenever we have a church trip or any kind of trip, honestly, we get in a circle and we pray for traveling mercy. So as we were getting ready to get in this circle and pray for traveling mercy, Juju's mom gets a phone call. And we're like, okay, whatever. She gets a phone call, and she's on the phone for less than a minute, and she screams. In that moment, I had that feeling in my stomach where I knew something happened, but I didn't know what happened. You ever get that feeling in your stomach where you're like, I think something bad happened, but I don't know what it is? Let me see your hand. And so I got that feeling, and immediately tears started to pour down my eyes. And through tears and just distress, Juju's mom shared with us that my dad had passed away in the hotel room in front of my mom and 4 younger siblings. As you can imagine, it was so devastating. My future flashed before my eyes, and I remember thinking, how am I going to go on this trip? How am I going to go to college? What's going to happen with my siblings? This is the only stable adult in our family holding everything together. This is our breadwinner. And one of the things that I often hear people say is, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? But what does it mean to make lemonade when you're heartbroken? What does it mean to make lemonade when you're in distress? We found out later that a blood clot from his knee rushed up to his heart, and just like that, he was gone. And so I want to present to you today a humble invitation, not an obligation, but something to consider. I've been digging deep to figure out, what does it mean to make lemonade? Because it sounds cute, right? Make lemonade, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? It sounds nice, right? But what does it mean in action? And so I like to define making lemonade as digging deep down within to process life's sour moments, right? With courage and honesty, and to ideally find purpose, power, pain, perspective, right? This is a choose your own adventure situation. I'm not telling you what to do, but these are options we have, right? Meaning, something powerful from that situation. And so, we're going to make some lemonade in just a moment. But I want to share with you how my power began, because when things began to happen to me in life, the question I would often ask is, why me? Anyone ever ask why me? And I did not receive my power until I started to ask, what can I make of this? Because I never got an answer for why me, right? I never got an answer. So I asked, what can I make of this? And what I realized is that creation is how I responded. Creation is how I answered. And that's where my power began. So my dad passed away on July 21st, 2007. And I went away to college a month later. I was determined to not take a break because I knew that for me, my education was my ticket out of poverty. And so I graduated in 4 years, and I applied to be the commencement speaker. And I stood on that stage at graduation, and I told those thousands of people in the audience about my dad, Marcus Garvey Williams Jr. And that was a way of me taking my power back, choosing the narrative and sharing with those folks and people around the world, because it's on YouTube, sharing with them the man who made a difference in my life, my dad. My dad passed away again on July 21st, 2007, and 8 years later, on July 21st, 2015, I got married. I repurposed the meaning of that day. So instead of being depressed, instead of being sad, instead of having anxiety as that day approached, I recreated the meaning to mean love, joy, creation, new beginnings. Again, I took my power back and turned that pain into power. Now, I do want to tell you a little secret, okay? All stories don't have a fairy tale ending, okay? So even though I'm not married today, one of the most beautiful gifts that came out of that union is my daughter, baby Z. Now let me hear someone say, but wait, there's more. Yes, how did you know? There is more. So on July 21st, 2020, I released my first book, all about making lemonade and turning that pain into power. And funny enough, on that book cover, I'm wearing the same yellow dress here. So again, taking my power back. Okay, so I'm gonna want you to repeat after me. We're actually gonna say this together, okay? So I'll say it first and you can repeat. If it costs me my peace, it's too expensive. Now, this is my mom and I at one of the prisons that she was in Pennsylvania. And This relationship has been one of the most instrumental relationships of my life, but it has also been one of the most traumatic, one of the most hurtful relationships in my life. And the thing about it is, I've always tried to be a good daughter. I've always respected my mother, even to this day. I've always respected her. I've always tried to do everything she asked me to do. And the thing about it is, I had this vision in my mind of who my mom should be, right? Would be and could be because of her title. She's my mom, right? And so I had this vision, and I continued to just entertain the relationship. I showed up in the relationship, but then I had to be real with myself. I had to have a moment with myself of honesty and ask myself, what is this relationship showing me in real life, right? Because I get excited sometimes by people's potential, but the thing about potential and the vision I had up here is that potential, in order for that to actualize, you need a willing participant. In order for potential to actualize, you need participation. And I was not getting participation there, right? And so when I began to look at the data, right, look at what reality was sharing with me, what I realized is that my mom did not have my best interest at heart. My mom was asking me to bring illegal substances up to a prison. And I remember telling her and kind of jokingly saying, Mom, I don't want to be your roommate up there, you know? I remember her totaling my car when I was in college, and she would even spread rumors about me and the family. And so I had to have a moment with myself to realize that my mom did not have the capacity to give me what I was desiring and what I needed from her as a mother. And one of the things one of my mentors used to say was, you can't expect from someone what's not on their shelf. Friend, if you go to AutoZone today and you want to get a wedding cake, it ain't gonna happen. AutoZone does not have that on the shelf. They don't have the capacity, right? So not to shame her, she has her own stuff going on, but I had to do what was best for me and protect my peace and set boundaries. And so I've been no contact with my mom for the past 6 years. It has been the most peaceful, drama-free, amazing. Thank you. I see you clapping over here. Yes, that's something to clap for sure. It's been the most amazing 6 years of my life not being wrapped up in that. Now here's the thing. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. And so there are times, although I've forgiven my mom, there are times where I find myself forgiving her again and again and some more, right? And so I'm a mother. Think about it. My daughter's 4 years old. She's around the same age I was when my mom was holding me up by my ankle on Jesse Avenue, beating me, right? And so when I have those flashbacks, I look to forgive because I want to be better and not bitter. The other thing I realized is that we may never know why certain things happen, you know, and trying to find the answer sometimes can just cause us to go down a rabbit hole, and it can be even more depressing. So I continue to ask myself, what can I make of this, right? Life gives us lemons. We can't always control it. What can I make of this, right? I think it's also important to process the feelings and feel all the things, right? Feel the feelings, get the emotions out, go to therapy. I'm a big advocate for therapy, all that good stuff, right? But what can I make of this? So I want to share with you how I've turned some of that pain into peace. This is my daughter, baby Z. And the thing about it is, I told you that, there were some horrific things that I experienced at the hands of my mother, but there were also some good things. And through my journey of growth and forgiveness, I've been able to take some of the positives and pass them on to my daughter. For example, one of the things my mom used to always say when I was younger was, always be aware of your surroundings, right? Know who's around, know what's around. And so that's something I'm working on with my daughter these days. The other thing is, right, I don't know, some of you may be able to relate to this. Sometimes when our parents, they show up in a certain way that we don't like, we say things like, I don't want to be like them, right? Anyone ever say that before? No judgment. I won't tell them. Okay. And the thing is, when we don't equip ourselves with the tools to be a different person, guess what ends up happening? We end up being just like them, right? So I have had to also equip myself with the tools so that I can mother my daughter in a different way. Another thing I realized is that our purpose is often built. It's often found in the soil of our experiences. And when I was in college, I got a bill for $10,000, and I barely had $10 in my bank account. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? I've been through so much. This is after my dad passed away, and even after my dad passed away, my mom was still back and forth to jail. So my siblings and I were being raised by grandparents, and church members were helping out. And I said, you know what? I think this is it. I think I've done a good try. I tried my best, and I don't know how I'm going to come up with $10,000. And so I remember being home alone one day, and I I was going to make my way to my mom's bathroom and take all the pills that she had in there. And as I was making my way into the kitchen area to go to her room, I heard a noise outside. And so I peeked out the window, and I saw that it was my little brother, TJ, the one whose hands were on my shoulder. And I realized my siblings were coming home early from school. And so I closed the door, I ran back into my room, and I began to cry. And I just cried on the bathroom floor. And I remember thinking to myself on that day, you know what? I have a bigger purpose. What are my siblings going to do, right? They just lost their dad, our mom. What am I going to do? And so I decided on that day to keep pushing no matter what life presents, to keep pushing until it all makes sense. And days like today is one of those days where things start to make a little bit more sense, being able to share some of the stories I've never shared before in hopes of inspiring, in hopes of enlightening or offering a fresh perspective. Now, a couple months ago, I went to the Alta Bates Hospital in Berkeley, and I was visiting my Uncle Mike, and he was on his deathbed. And I remember walking into the hospital room, and he said to me, T, I'm not going to get to see you again. I wish I had more time, but my body's all effed up. That's what he said to me. And I remember just trying to hold back tears. I didn't want him to see me cry. And when I left, and he passed away a couple of days later, I remember thinking about that moment. And it just made me so much more grateful for my life. Because no, everything's not perfect, right? Yes, I still have dreams and goals I want to accomplish that I haven't accomplished yet. But I'm still here. You're still here. We're still here. And so I have two questions for you. One, what will you do with the time that you have? Will you be bitter, or will you be better? Will you be bitter, or will you be better? And the last question is, we all experience pain. The question is, what will you make of yours? And I guess this is a good time to say, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you.